Well, good afternoon, Louisiana. Welcome to Bayou Bets for Monday, November the 28th. Zach Ewing here with Jim Derry and Spencer the Guru Urquhart. Well, it was a good holiday, I think, for me at least. I spent some time with family, some food, some football. Uh, the football for South Louisiana, not so great, though. The Saints shut out for the first time in 20 years. And
Almost
LSU,
21.
yeah, and LSU maybe worse, losing at Texas A&M and removing itself from the national championship picture. We do have the Tulane Green Wave down here. Uncle Big Nick's here. He's happy, 49ers fan. 13-0
Don't
49ers.
rub it in, you being. Come on
We'll
now.
start there. Feel free to leave your comments. If you are on the Twitter page, you need to get yourself over to Facebook or YouTube for us to see your comments, but we'll put them on the screen live. As always, brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook. Go to NOLA.com/Caesars to get your first bet risk-free up to $1,250. Or if you prefer a 3-poster LSU championship set, go to LSUposter.com and you can get that going for signing up for Caesars as well. Dave says, so depressing. Yeah. Let's start there. Jim Derry. And those who want to hear Jim's full thoughts can listen to Datitude, the podcast this morning that Jim released. With that said, let's start with Spencer. Spencer, you said you had some things to say about 49ers 13, Saints 0.0, as Blutarski would say.
Yeah, that was to me. This to me is the most painful loss of the season. I know Saints have had some painful ones, but to me, this is the worst because of all the freaking chances that they had. Not one, not two, but 3 chances to score that all got taken away. Yeah, the penalties, turnovers. Just in the last one with the penalties and turnovers have been the curse of this team. I mean, the first one, the almost pick 6 gets taken away because of defensive holding. The freaking Kamara fumble at the goal line. Jawan Johnson nearly saves the day, ends up in the hands of the 49ers at the 1, and in the most sickening at the end there where Dalton takes the sack and then had the ram check penalty that pushed him back. It's just so sickening the way this team's done with all the mistakes and self-inflicted wounds. I know the season's not technically over, but I'll probably be glad when it is, because this is just every freaking week it seems like we're talking about this kind of stuff. And you can't win football games with turnovers and penalties. You simply can't at the NFL level.
That is true. Jim, I know this is going to be difficult, but summarize your thoughts in like a minute or two for us.
There's nothing painful about it. It's typical. I mean, you can't expect a different result when they keep doing the same things over and over again. They keep putting the same people in. They keep running the same kind of offense. They keep running their heads into a brick wall. It's not painful. It's typical. It might piss you off, but it can't be painful. I mean, painful would be expecting a different outcome and something else different happening, and they keep doing the same things over and over again. And I don't know why anyone expects anything different. This coaching staff is inept. They refuse to make changes where they need to make changes, and they keep banging their heads against walls and saying the same things after they lose, like they're surprised. My favorite was Dennis Allen. You could take any of his press conferences from his 8 losses and put them all together. They're all the same. Every single press conference is exactly the same. He says, we need to get better, and then he figures out which call he wants to blame the refs on for that particular game. And this one was the Chris Olave call, which was a bad call. But good coaches don't talk about those sorts of things. They say, next question, or they say, let me look at the film, and then I'll figure it out and get back to you. But Dennis Allen continues to say, we need to get better. When are you going to get better? Your next game is in December.
Yeah. I mean, look, I don't think that anyone could convince anyone that Dennis Allen and his staff are doing a good job this year, and I'm not trying to do that. I will say this team was prepared for this game. I mean, look.
The defense.
They played great defense. The 49ers' only touchdown came on a deflected pass. Is it Dennis Allen's fault that Alvin Kamara got the ball punched out on the half-yard line? Is it Dennis Allen's fault that they called illegal contact? Maybe 50-50 call, not egregious, but they certainly didn't have to call that on the Paulson and Debo interception. on the game-ending sack.
Yeah,
or
the
Alontae Taylor,
offense
sorry.
was yes, it's his fault in the fact that he keeps putting in a quarterback that gives you almost no chance to win against a team like this. I mean, yes. I mean, and I wasn't. Again, I'm not blaming Andy Dalton for the loss, because Andy Dalton did what he always does. At 18 of 29 for 200 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, no fumbles, big whoop, nothing. So you
led the team in rushing.
Well, that's saying something. But you could. We went into this week. I'm an amateur professional betting analyst. Okay, I mean, I guess I'm professional in the sense that I get paid to do my job, but I get paid to do a lot of other things than predict games. But I said in my NFL column, they are not going to be able to run the football against this 49ers team.
No one can.
Exactly. I mean, which means it's an Andy Dalton game, which means if you expect anything different, it's not a surprise they didn't score 0 points. It may be a surprise they get inside the 10 as many times they did and had chances to, but it's not a surprise they didn't score any points because it's an Andy Dalton game. If it's an Andy Dalton game, they're not going to win the game.
I mean, I get what you're saying, and again, I'm not trying to say that Dennis Allen is blameless here, but it's not his fault Alvin Kamara drops the ball. It's not his fault Will Lutz misses a field goal. It's not his fault. Now, I will say this. Nick Bosa was clearly offside on the game-ending sack. If you go back and look, he was clearly offside. So there were some calls, the Olave one's another one, where I think the Saints will send him into the league office and they'll get their token, oh, yeah, we screwed it up. Now, again, Kyle says, is this – am I sunshine? I'm not trying to pump sunshine. This is a bad team. Look, bad teams find ways to lose games. But I will say the Saints have not quit. I think they came in with a game plan. They mostly showed that, executed it, except in some key moments, which is unfortunately the story of their season. Now, having said that, they play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 7 days from today, and the steam is already on the Saints.
Wow,
yeah, it was 6 earlier today. It was 3.5 now. Like, if the Saints win this game, their season is not over, amazingly so.
Yes, it is. I mean, yes, it is. They're not going to –
mathematically speaking.
Mathematically, realistically, they have to go 4-1 down the stretch. They have 0.01 chance of going 4-1 down the stretch. They haven't won back-to-back games all season. What makes you think they're going to do it in December?
If they could play clean games, then yeah, but
they're not.
But they're not. Though, so I'm with you, Jim. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying, if they could, I think they could go 4-1. But I have no confidence that they are, so I will not predict that.
If they could have found a way to win yesterday, they would have been in great shape. I mean, Tampa Bay and Atlanta opened the door wide open. I mean, the door
again
was
for
wide
like the fourth time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're in the last week of November. The door is open wide because Tampa Bay stinks. Atlanta stinks. We know Carolina stinks, right? The problem is the Saints stink. So now instead of having to go 3-2 down the line, which is completely feasible and possible, because they can certainly beat Tampa, Atlanta, and Carolina.
They'll be favored in 2 games at least.
Well, the problem is they can't beat Philadelphia. You can scratch that one off. That one is a loss. I mean, I don't care what the spread is. In fact, I may go take $2,000 and put money on the money line and take my $250 back because they're not beating Philadelphia. It ain't happening. So that's gonna be ugly. So that means if you play your best game and beat Tampa Bay, Atlanta, and Carolina, that means it comes down to beating Cleveland on a ugly field, probably in ugly weather, with Deshaun Watson at quarterback against a decent defense, and you go ahead and try to stop Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Because I'm not going to try to do it because I don't think the Saints can.
Merry Christmas. That'll be fun.
Yeah, no kidding.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I do think the 3 division games are winnable. And maybe I'm just being hopeful because I have over 3 division wins and I need the Saints to win them. But I think they could beat Tampa Bay. I think they could beat Atlanta and Carolina. If you start there.
That's what makes you so – I said so painful isn't the word. You can be angry if you want. That's what I guess – for me, not even if I wasn't even a Saints fan, I'd be angry right now because you got the over 7.5. They won that game yesterday. I think they're going to win I think they're going to win 8 games if they win that game yesterday. But now that's up in smoke probably.
If you start with the division games, and I'm not saying it's better than 50-50 that the Saints win their 3 division games, but it's at least possible. It's at least 1-3, maybe. Then you're looking at splitting Cleveland and Philly. As we've said, winning in Philly extremely unlikely. Maybe if Jalen Hurts got hurt or something, you'd have a chance.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe.
And so then it comes down to, can you win in Cleveland? They'd be underdogs. But we look at these odds; they're 10-1. Like I think that's about right. I think they have a 10% chance of winning the division, which is amazing considering how poor the season has been.
Well, if you're saying they have a 10% chance, then you don't bet it because there's no value then.
Correct.
So but I want to know. I want a little bit of what Kyle's smoking now. I don't know if he is like, if he's like happy go lucky today. Like I don't know if he's like promoting the Saints or saying the stinks. And the 49ers are overrated. Are you insane? The 49ers are probably the best team in the NFC. If they're not, it's either them or Dallas. You could say Philadelphia, but I don't think when it gets to playoff time and playing really good teams, I don't think they necessarily match it well. I don't like Philadelphia at all. But the 49ers,
I place bets to win the NFC this weekend on the 49ers and the Cowboys. I think Cowboys was plus 425. And 49ers was plus 350. And I feel pretty good about one of those two teams cashing.
Yeah, I think those are the two teams that have the best chance. The only problem is now that I'm starting to look at things, I think there's a decent chance they end up on the same side of the bracket, which is good or bad. Because, one of them is going to get to the NFC Championship game, but you'd like them to play against one another. So did I look at his stats? Kyle, I stopped looking at stuff you typed in except for – I'm like picking little bits and pieces out. It's I've already eaten my Thanksgiving dinner. The turkey's gone.
I'll take that bet though.
We threw the turkey out. We don't need another. We don't need another turkey.
Atlanta and Carolina are not good, and the Saints get them at home. They'll win at least one of those games.
Oh, they'll win 2 games.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they might even win 3 more. It won't be enough.
I've been saying for about 6 weeks now, and I'm gonna stick with it. I don't see why I change. The Saints gonna win 6 games. Which is going to be just enough to save Dennis Allen's job, and we're going to have to deal with this again next year.
And just enough to save that Saints LSU win total of 14 and a half. As LSU freaking lost, so it makes an out where the Saints have to win 2 more games for that to cash.
That is a professional segue right there.
Positive thinking, buddy.
That is well done, Spencer. I like that because we're about to talk LSU. I do want real quick tonight's game, Steelers at Colts. Talk about a couple teams that season on the brink. If you can even be that positive about it, their seasons might be over. But Colts 2.5-point favorites.
Steelers going to win that game. All right.
I agree. That's I have that for best bet. Steelers money line. Colts who have a lot of bug going around their locker room, could be without several key defensive players.
And, and really, the Steelers defense isn't very good. They got T.J. Watt back, so that makes them better. But they'll be able to do enough to hold down Jonathan Taylor and. Matt Ryan, come on. Yeah. That's a good money line bet.
Yeah, and it's also part of Big Bucks. I have that as my Big Bucks wild
You have it in a money line parlay, which we need to talk about.
There you go.
Hey, you're watching Bayou Bets here on the Bayou Bets YouTube channel and bet.nola.com. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button for us. Do us that favor if you are watching. And we're going to talk a little LSU with another Band-Aid we got to rip off here. Guys, this was a weird game. Jim, you followed it. You were on duty that night. LSU did not play a good first half, but they come out in the second half. They go down and score. They tie the game. They get the ball back. Everything looks okay. They're going to restore order here. And then Jaden Daniels fumbles. And by the way, it was his first career fumble, either at LSU or Arizona State. First career fumble in hundreds of carries. Wow. And A&M scoops and scores, and the game just flipped on its head.
Yeah, I couldn't go and look at social media. I would go type whatever I had to type and get off because I didn't feel like reading the idiots were probably coming out of their holes talking bad about Jaden Daniels, and he has been just outstanding. Really. And next year, I can't wait to see what the future holds for him, assuming that he comes back. And I can't imagine he wouldn't because they'll have a chance to bump up his stock. But it's just one of those things. You talk about. At least Alvin Kamara has been bad all year except for 2 games. And so, his mind is elsewhere. Jaden Daniels, it's just a fluky thing. That fumble changed the whole game around. I think if he doesn't fumble, I think LSU probably wins. They had all the momentum in the world. But in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter? They're not going to be Georgia. they weren't going to go to the playoff. I mean, I guess where it really hurts you probably is it may have severely damaged your chances to go to New Year's Six Bowl. But in the grand scheme of things, when you're looking at the big picture for LSU, it's all about a team that is already done well beyond anyone expected in a rebuilding year. And all these things are going to help them for next year because they're things that aren't going to happen next year.
Yeah, Joe is right. LSU, I mean, you can't, if you're an LSU fan, you're disappointed in this season, you've just lost perspective.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning of the year, nobody expected 9-3. Nobody expected them to be in Atlanta for the SEC championship game. And kind of like the Saints, look, they still have a chance. They're still there. They're still in the game. Georgia's a 17.5-point favorite. Do we expect LSU to win? Absolutely not. I think this line's a little high. I think LSU can stay in the game. What do you guys think?
You know what's weird now is before going into the game against Texas A&M, I was ready to pounce on Georgia minus 14.5, minus 15. I got to say, the fact that they lost, I think, completely changes my outlook. I think they'll be focused. I'm probably not going to touch it because I don't want to bet on LSU. I don't think betting on LSU is a good idea here because LSU could seriously get blown out of the water. Georgia's got a factor of revenge, I guess, to come back. They remember there are players on this team that played in that 2020 or 2019 SEC championship game. So, and Kirby certainly remembers, and he's looking to give LSU a little thumping. But I think that the game last week, if it does anything, it helps refocus this team, and Brian Kelly can say, see, you're not as good as you. Don't listen to everybody. Don't listen to the outside hype. So I think LSU is going to be focused. I think they'll play okay. I think their best chance to win, oddly enough, even though it's Georgia's kind of game, I think their best chance to win is a lower scoring game, which fits the Georgia's T. But I think in this case, it's LSU's best benefit if it's a 17-10 kind of game. And you know what? I give them as much a chance to win this game as I give the Saints to win the division.
No, they actually have better odds than that. Saints are 10-1 to win the division. LSU 6-1 to win this
There you
game.
go.
So you get a couple of turnovers, and like you said, you take up some clock, speed up the game a little bit. That shorten the game is what I mean. You have a chance in this game. I agree. And the flip side of that too is Georgia. When LSU was still a playoff contender, Georgia at least had to worry in the back of its head about, okay, if we don't take this seriously, LSU could win and then everybody else wins and all of a sudden we're sweating out Selection Sunday versus now Georgia's in no matter what happens. No matter what happens.
Yeah, right.
And I don't, listen, Kirby Smart's a great coach. I don't think their focus is going to stray, but it could. Certainly, it's a more of a possibility than it was a week ago, I think, Spencer.
Yeah, it's possible. The thing that concerns me, though, here, and which is why if I had to bet this, I'd take the points of Georgia. I think they're going to blow the doors off LSU. It's the Jaden Daniels injury. I mean, he's got an ankle injury. It wasn't a high ankle sprain, so he should be able to play through it, but it was significant enough to where he was in a walking boot yesterday, and I just don't see him being 100%. He'll definitely be limited some as a runner, and we know how dangerous he is as a runner. So to me, with him banged up, I don't see LSU coming anywhere close.
No, that's a good point. And that could be the reason for the line movement. Not to mention LSU didn't play well, but last week this line was 15. Now it's 17.5. So those are factors at play for sure.
Well, and this isn't just getting pounded by the Sharps. And I think it was when it was 14.5 and 15. Once it starts moving, Sharps don't play with it anymore. So that's all Mabel money. I can promise you that when we get our weekly update and it tells you how much of the public and how much of the tickets, I'd be willing to bet that this is going to be well into the 80 percentile range of people betting on Georgia here. So, I mean, if anything else, that's a reason to bet on LSU. But again, for me personally, this is not a game I will touch because of the so many unknown factors. And look, Georgia's going to be playing like a cat and a mouse. They don't want anybody to know how good they are. They are clearly the best team in the country. I don't care what anyone says. Yay, Michigan, you beat Ohio State. Good for you. There's Georgia and there's everybody else, in my opinion. And so when it comes down to college football playoffs, Georgia's going to do what they did last year. They're going to win this thing easily. But that doesn't mean that that's going to happen this Saturday in Atlanta. So I wouldn't touch this game at all. If I were forced to bet, I would bet on LSU, only because, again, all the Mabels pricing this thing up so high. I could easily see LSU losing by 14 or 15 and falling in that range of the high end range of covering.
But between the high end and the low end of the spread,
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
By the way, Georgia minus 160 to win the national championship right now. So odds on favorite, but still maybe a little bit of
No
value
value
there
now.
if you believe what you think, Jim, that they're going to win it easily.
Yeah, if you
it's
didn't
not
bet
going to go down.
It was even money about a month ago, and so I think you kind of missed the boat. I actually bought a ticket on Michigan, so I hope I'm wrong. I bought a ticket on Michigan. I can't remember I think they were 12-1 about 5 or 6 weeks ago, and I could see how these things were playing out, and I knew it was basically going to come down to Michigan, Ohio State for the college football playoff. So I went and bought a ticket on Michigan. So
I will say the other thing, and Alabama's 25-1, and Alabama has a legitimate chance at making it in. And Ohio State's 14-1. If one of those two teams, if not both, could sneak into the playoffs.
I don't think Alabama's gonna even if they get in, I don't think they have the team this year to be able to do it. But I still think 25-1 is a bargain. You know.
I can't believe I agree with Jim either.
Joe DeStefano hasn't agreed with me since we were like 11 years old and we were talking about going to eat pizza.
All right, let's run back to the NFL real quick because Joe does have a question. Drop passes, key fumbles, and this is really what I'm saying is like I don't think Dennis Allen is blameless. I also think some of these things, like if you're Dennis Allen, you just got to throw your hand. How am I supposed to keep Will Lutz from missing that field goal? Alvin Kamara from fumbling, the refs from not calling Nick Bosa offside. Like some of these things are just, it's almost like the universe against him.
You're picking apart parts of a game. I'm picking apart pieces of the grander picture. Good, well-coached teams don't do things like that, and they certainly don't do them multiple times in a game. It's one thing if a guy makes a mistake and the Saints played clean ball and they went down the field and Alvin Kamara fumbles on the one and it is what it is. But there were so many multiple things, jumping off sides, Kamara fumbling twice, the missed field. You talk about the missed field goal. They weren't. The defense was fantastic. It's sloppy.
That's on the coaching. That's on the coaching. I will blame Dennis Allen for that. I am, because I'm tired of it. Every week, it's just, other than the Rams game where they finally played a clean game. And that's why I think I was so, to go back to it, I was like, it was so painful for me because I was kind of fooled and think, well, maybe they've turned the corner. Maybe they have going to start playing some clean games. But nope.
Yeah, so I agree with Spencer 100%. I mean, that's what you talk about with the coaching, Zach. It's not just it's not his fault they did this. Stop saying it's not his fault they did this, they did that. It's their fault because they're not prepared. And again, you go into a press conference and hear him say, we got to get better. I don't want to hear we got to get better for 8 weeks. If we're going into December. If you aren't better by now, chances are you're not going to get better.
Can't argue with that. And look, this stuff keeps happening. So
right.
Is one fumble Dennis Allen's fault? No. Is fumbling in general Dennis Allen's fault? I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they're doing for ball control drills or if it's different than what other NFL teams do. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is there's enough other stuff to where they never seem to overcome those mistakes.
I think Pete Carmichael has did a much better job yesterday. But here's my question. And again, I'm an amateur guy. All I do is watch. I've never coached football. I've covered it for 2/3 of my existing life. I've covered football. But here's the thing. This is what I say. Wouldn't that have been a perfect game if you're an offensive coordinator to have Taysom play his normal role, but throw like 8 to 10 passes because they wouldn't expect it? And then because the only way to attack a rushing defense is to be able to get them when they don't expect it. So you have Taysom go out there in the first quarter and throw 3 or 4 passes, and then it's gonna open up the running game. But no, we're gonna bang our heads and like run into this brick wall that we know we can't run into. The stats show that. And then
49ers were clearly ready for Taysom running. Clearly.
Correct.
I mean,
so you go out there and do what you don't think they're going to do. And what the 49ers don't think Taysom's going to do is throw the football. They even had weird stacks to the left. They had a 3 stack to the left and don't do anything with it. Throw the damn football. And then they won't know what's coming.
Well, guys, you probably know this, but New Orleans does have a team that's playing for a championship this weekend. And that would be the Tulane Green Wave.
Tulane Green Wave, baby.
At home at Ullman Stadium, 3:00 Saturday, same time as the LSU game. Tulane is a field goal favorite here. This is one of the teams the only team they lost to in their conference season was UCF. So a little chance at revenge. UCF, I believe, has a injury at quarterback. This line was actually 3.5 this morning, now 3. And the backdrop of this is that Willie Fritz may or may not be going to Georgia Tech.
Go ahead, Spence. You take this.
Yeah, I was like, that's the Willie Fritz news. That stinks, man. That's just such a letdown for Tulane. I remember last year with UL. This reminds me with UL and Lafayette with Billy Napier leaving. It was bittersweet. They ended up winning the conference championship, but it just sucked knowing that he was going to be out of there, and he didn't even coach the bowl game. So if Willie Fritz does end up leaving, that's just such a gut punch. Where if the UCF QB's out, then they might still be able to do it. But I feel like with Willie Fritz being most likely a lame duck, I wouldn't touch this with a stick.
Zach, it has multiple. When a coach announces that he's leaving, it has different effects. It has one or the other. They either really rally for him, and then they come out and storm and play well, and he rallies the troops and let's go win this thing, or their complete opposite is a flop. There's usually no in between. So I think with this Tulane team, my guess is that if you've been around the Tulane program, and I know a lot of Tulane fans, I know some of my best friends are in the Greenbackers crew. They all knew this was coming at some point. If Willie Fritz ever won with Tulane is not a place you stay. It just isn't. It never has been. So if you win at Tulane, you're going to go somewhere else. AKA Bowden, you go back, Mac Jones. You go back in the history of Tulane football, Larry Smith, way back in the 70s. So, it's just not a place that good coaches stay. So you either get fired at Tulane or you move on to somewhere better. So I don't think that this group is going to take this the wrong way. I actually think that they're going to rally around Willie Fritz, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm certain they'll let him coach at least this game. Well, I'm not certain, but I'm fairly certain. I haven't heard anything otherwise. You're not going to make a change on past Monday, I wouldn't think. It'll be interesting if they let him coach the bowl game, and I hope they do. I hope Georgia Tech. It's probably up to Georgia Tech and not up to Tulane. I can't imagine Tulane would want Willie Fritz out of there. They're not going to have hard feelings about this. So
the only thing about that is that this offseason in college football will be the craziest offseason in the history of the sport, and it's going to start next Monday. That's when the transfer portal opens. Yeah. The early recruiting, but also the transfer portal. You got to recruit your own roster now.
Yeah.
So if Willie Fritz wants to get to Atlanta to coach Georgia Tech before the transfer portal opens, he can't coach Tulane on Saturday. He'd have one day to recruit his own roster.
That's true.
So it's more complicated than it used to be. Hello to Jerry. Hope y'all had a good Thanksgiving as well.
Where you been, Jerry?
Kyle says LSU play Tulane. I think it's unlikely LSU gets into the New Year's Six now unless they win the SEC, in which case they go to the Sugar Bowl. So it's tough to see that.
Yeah, I think it's highly unlikely now. Had they beat Texas A&M, well, even if it was kind of a weird spot anyway, because if they beat Texas A&M, unless they get the doors blown off them by Georgia, they were probably going to the Sugar Bowl. Now, you need some teams to lose, and not only lose, but in the title games this week. You need to get some teams kind of beaten up pretty bad for you to get back into the New Year's Six. Let's see where the rankings are tomorrow, and ask us that question on Thursday. We'll have a better answer for you.
I think Kyle mentioned earlier, where does Alabama fit into this? Watch the rankings tomorrow night. The entire show is about who number 5 is. Is it Alabama or is it Ohio State? Because if TCU and USC could both lose, but if just one of them loses, which I think is more likely, who's number 5 and is in position to move up, Ohio State or Alabama? I think it's going to be Ohio State, just simply because of one loss versus 2. But we'll see. That's what the entire show tomorrow night is about, is who is number 5.
And Zach, I told you that the other day. I said LSU fans really should have been rooting for Ohio State to win, because I could have seen a scenario, honestly. To me, the only thing that was going to keep LSU out had they gone through and won was Ohio State losing. Now, they didn't lose in close fashion, so I still think had LSU beat Texas A&M and then going on and beat Georgia, I think they still would have gone. But had that been a tight game, the fact that it's a blowout is a little bit different, and it gives Alabama a little bit more hope. But I think that I still think Ohio State is actually sitting pretty, and it's funny because everybody's so down. Ohio State could come back. That's the team you don't want to play. Forget Michigan's going to get their doors. Michigan's not good. I know that they won Saturday. They're not good compared to the other really good teams. Well, there's really only one really good team, I guess. They're not better than Ohio State. They were that day. If they play Ohio State again in the college football playoff, they're going to lose. So
Ryan Day, by the way, just a poor job of coaching that game.
I agree.
Because like you said, the talent levels are not that much a difference. You're at home. Ryan Day played that game.
CJ Stroud is so much better than anybody else on that field. I mean, Spencer, he's going to go into the
they got
draft.
better receiver.
You're going to want him.
Probably be the first pick.
Yeah.
You're going to want him in fantasy football next year, no matter where he goes. I mean, that kid, I'm always down on Ohio State talent. This kid's different. He's got a different set of talents. I actually think he can be successful in the NFL because he does a lot more than just what Justin Fields does. I don't think Justin Fields can ever be truly successful in the NFL. I think CJ Stroud is a real top pick. Like, he's going to make someone better really fast, I think.
Justin Fields already owns an NFL record, man.
Although
Justin
Bryce
Fields
Young
is a running back. Let's not go there.
Young.
We've been so nice to each other today. Don't go there. You haven't even brought soccer up, and you haven't
I'm about
said
to
anything dumb.
Oh, here we go.
Go ahead.
I'm about to.
Well,
in fact, I want to get to some quick hitters before we wrap things up with our best bets for the week and looking ahead to next weekend. Pelicans play tonight. They're at home. No Brandon Ingram in this one. He's got a toe injury, and I know everybody
hanging out
knows
with Mike Thomas. Yeah.
I mean, listen, toe injuries are not good.
What's going on with toe injuries in New Orleans professional sports?
I don't know.
Trevor Penning, Mike Thomas. I mean,
C.J. McCollum also questionable. I think he's on the COVID list, although I
think they ruled him out.
Health and safety protocols. So it might be the Zion show tonight. When have we ever said that before? That it's Zion is the one guy who's actually healthy. So the Pels are favored by 5.5 over OKC tonight. I mean, honestly, with as many guys have been in and out of that lineup, I think you've got to be pretty satisfied if the Pelicans start. They're 12-8. It's fine. The whole Western Conference seems like it's between 12-8 and 8-12. So they're at the top end of that. At some point, you presume they'll all get healthy at the same time, and then they can get on a roll.
Have you noticed a shift in the NBA to where it's become commonplace they just don't want these guys to play 82 games anymore. They don't want anyone playing more than 68 or 70 games. I mean, you saw with the Warriors and the fans got screwed, honestly. I mean, sitting all the studs. I mean,
both
sure,
times.
the Pels, yeah, that's what I mean. The Pels get 2 wins out of it, so it's good for them. But it really kind of screws it. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. I mean, it's one thing to sit a guy or two here or there. But, I mean, I think that's where the Pelicans, his toe hurts. We're going to keep him out. I mean, I think you're going to see this until like the end of February until they get ready. And players are going to get rest here and there. You just got to be able to mix it out.
I can't wait until C.J. Stroud struggles his first game in the NFL, and everyone will start calling him Shroud.
He won't, and he definitely won't be the Saints QB because the Saints do not have a 2023 first round pick.
Wait a minute.
And even if they did, they wouldn't be high enough to get him.
Now wait a minute. If the Arizona Cardinals want Sean Payton, how about that number 8 pick, Arizona? I mean, like
C.J. Stroud would be long gone by then.
He may be. I'm not
necessarily
talking about Stroud, but there is a chance for the Saints to get a first round pick in the Sean Payton sweepstakes. Chargers, I think, are at number 17 or something right now. So
that'd be the hope. The Chargers would be. They're never going to. Cardinals. Sean Payton's not going to the Cardinals. Why would he want to go to Coach Kyler Murray? Kyler Murray. You talk about a train wreck. Sean Payton's not going to any part of that. Justin Herbert, though, that he might want to go.
Doesn't matter what he wants.
Herbert's got a lot of potential.
Chargers are notoriously cheap. They're not going to spend the money or the capital that they need to spend to get Sean Payton. Never going to happen.
By the way, Bryce Young is going to be the number 1 pick, and I think Bryce Young will be a better pro quarterback than C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, reunite with
that's true. I mean, you go to a train wreck, that's a problem. So Pels play tonight. Tomorrow, 1:00, USA and Iran.
I'm actually interested in this one.
It's very interesting. USA needs to win. They cannot tie. That draw at the bottom plus 230. That's a problem for the USA.
They don't bet it.
A draw puts Iran in the knockout stage, and the U.S. is left out. They have to win. There were 10 Iranian journalists grilling the U.S. coach and captain at the news conference today because the U.S. Twitter account took the Islamic symbol off of the Iranian flag in a show of solidarity with Iranian women, is what they said. I don't know that taking the religious symbol off was the right move to do that, but the Iranian journalists got just outraged over it. And so all this backdrop, all this political backdrop to this game as well. So very interesting to see. U.S. will have to come out aggressive. Minus 105. The U.S. better score. They've only got 1 goal in 2 games, so they better score some, Kyle.
I have a question about soccer. And I'm
Good.
only being kind of facetious here. Okay. Here, you know how I talked the other day about the flops? I'm not. This is kind of kidding aside, semi-kidding aside. All right, so the flops, which makes soccer hard to watch. Okay, I like hockey. So hockey, they beat the crap out of each other, right? But yet, soccer, if you do a little elbow boo-boo or a little, they've got these big pads on their shins. Oh, he kicked him in the shin. Oh, now he's laying on the ground. He needs his mommy. Why can you beat the ever-loving hell out of each other in hockey and nobody has a problem with it? But in soccer, if you kick a guy in the shin, you're out of the game, buddy. Get out of here.
Well, now, first of all, hockey players wear more pads than soccer players do. Let's be clear about that.
Okay.
But no one's.
I'm not saying they should get like. I'm not saying they should go out and be able to like, clothesline them or, do a windmill kick to the face or something like that. It is
obviously exaggerated. And part of that is because it works. When you exaggerate it, 1 time out of 5, you get the call, and that's what you're going for. The NBA does the same thing. I mean, you see guys flopping all the time because they get the call sometimes, and so they'll keep doing it. But having been cleated by a guy slide tackling at full speed,
I've been cleated too.
Shin guards don't help too much. It still hurts.
I tell you, I played soccer and never touched it again. Once I got out of high school, I'm like, oh, soccer's dead to me.
Playing soccer is a lot of fun. Watching it at times can be dull. I agree. But
not when you got to run 3-4 miles a day in practice and you can't figure out why.
I like running.
It's okay.
Might be the weirdest thing I've ever said. Brazil is your favorite to win the World Cup. They won today over Switzerland, plus 250.
Brazil.
France, Spain scored a touchdown against Costa Rica earlier, 7-0. I don't know, guys. I kind of feel like maybe a Portugal here at 12-1. I mean, they're scoring goals. They look pretty good. Any other thoughts?
How about Uruguay? Ronaldo, baby.
Uruguay. Ronaldo plays for Portugal.
Oh, Portugal. Whatever. One of that team.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that game. Yeah, Ronaldo.
Oh, boy.
I don't bet on. I told you I made my first soccer bet ever the other day, and I was really.
Yeah, and you got a bad beat out of it.
Yeah, I had a plus 400 draw, and the winning goal came in the 88th minute. I'm like, this is why I don't watch or bet on soccer.
It happens.
Why don't they use the empty net in soccer? By the way,
I do kind of think. Well, occasionally you'll see, like if the U.S. is tied tomorrow and they get a corner kick in injury time, they'll bring the goalkeeper up all the way to the other end of the field and have him try to get ahead on a ball too, just to get an extra player in the box, because what difference does it make if they give up a goal on the other end? They're out anyway. So you kind of see that. I mean, it'll be interesting. I do think, I hate to say this, I do think there's a little bit of value in the draw in this game, because Iran will play for a draw and they don't have to win. So if they're sitting back playing for a draw,
you lose.
Now, I will say this: if Wales somehow beats England, which they're playing at the same time, then a draw may not be good enough for Iran, and so they have to be careful with that. But if they're if it's halftime, this game's tied, and England are up on Wales in the other game, then you might see Iran be super conservative in the second half. So
Wales isn't going to beat England. I don't know anything about soccer, and I know that Wales isn't going to beat England.
That is a definite big brother, little brother situation there.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah, because I got a question about the Group B, Zach. So let's just say England beats Wales, which most likely will happen. What happens then in a U.S.-Iran draw? Who moves on?
Iran moves on because Iran has 3 points from beating Wales. A victory is 3 points. A tie is only 1 point. So U.S. only has 2 points from 2 ties.
Oh, okay.
So if they tie, Iran would be on 4 points. USA would be on 3. Iran moves on.
The U.S. needs to win.
U.S. needs to win. And if they do win and finish second in the group, looks like they'd play Netherlands in the round of 16. But that's to be determined also.
Another reason why soccer is stupid, because ties are stupid. There should never, ever, ever be a tie. And that goes to the NFL as well. There shouldn't be.
There were ties in college football for 100 years.
Right. It was stupid. Ties are dumb. Somebody win the damn game.
That is why it used to be that wins in soccer in these situations were 2 points and ties were 1. They changed it to incentivize going for a win. A win is now 3 points. And that's why the U.S., they have to win tomorrow.
At least have I don't like the NFL's overtime per se, that it can end in a tie. but at least give them like another 15 minutes, one shot at 15 minutes, and do something. I'm not saying you need to go into like, penalty kick time or whatever, but at least add something to give them a chance. I mean, give them a chance not to end in a tie.
I am surprised, speaking of that the NFL, since it changed the rules for overtime, 4 years ago, that there haven't been more ties.
Yeah,
because it's only 10 minutes. And if both teams get a chance to kick a field goal, like that 10 minutes is mostly gone at that point.
Came pretty close to a tie in Tampa Bay, Cleveland yesterday.
And what was it? Patriots, Packers earlier this year was almost a tie. Raiders, Seahawks yesterday. If Josh Jacobs doesn't bust that 85-yard run, the Raiders were all the way back in their own end with only about 3.5 minutes left. That easily could have been a tie as well. So I'm surprised there haven't been more, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Big Bucks, speaking of Jim,
dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, you had some bad beats in soccer, but everything else working out for you, buddy.
Well, I had that one really bad week last week, and I knew I was going to shake it off. I spent extra time. There was no way I was going to have back-to-back weeks like I had last week because it was brutal. It was brutal. But that one on there really bothers me because I'm an idiot. I mean, I can't believe I allowed myself to take Houston again. I mean, and the funny thing is, after I did it, like the next morning, I'm like, "What the hell am I thinking?"
They almost backdoored it for you.
They really did, and which would have made it interesting. But I'm like, "What was I thinking?" I really don't know what I was thinking. That was a huge mistake. I did get the huge teaser. I've upped my unit in real life, so I had a really good weekend with Mr. Caesar. I don't have the dunce cap today, but
you know what? You know why I deserve the dunce cap is because my best pick of the entire weekend, by far, was Tennessee.
Then you didn't put on any card.
And I didn't put it on.
That's the best pick you actually made all year. That was a no-brainer.
That and the Ohio State Northwestern game where it was like 40-mile-an-hour winds.
I won money. You got me with that. I won money with that.
And part of it is like the timing of this. We picked these on Thursday morning. I got a lot of other stuff going on. I'm just, I like these games and this game. And
right.
And then I think about it the next day, and I'm going, I love Tennessee minus 14.
That was the easiest bet of the college.
That line should be double that. And as it turned out, it was even double that wouldn't have been enough. It was like 49-0. So I don't know what I'm doing. I really don't. But it's not my year in big bucks.
Well, hold on. Zoe marked that a time of 42:40. I need to pull that out, and that will be part of Datitude almost every week. I don't know what I'm doing. Thank you.
Every time you have me on
email
Datitude,
that'll
be my intro. That'll be my intro.
There's no question that's going somewhere.
Guru, your week, whether it's a winner or a loser, depends on the Steelers tonight.
Yeah, they did a little better this week. I've been in a little slump there, but got back to hopefully above 500 if tonight goes as planned.
You want me to give you my 50 cents, Spence?
I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get there.
Oh, Mr. Arrogant over here.
The
Chargers about giving away his winnings.
The Chargers freaking pissed me off because they won, but they didn't cover. So it's like, they won, but it just didn't benefit me there. But the only one that was the Bills. I probably shouldn't have. With Josh Allen still kind of banged up, as we saw with the futures movement, they're no longer the favorites. I probably shouldn't have taken that against the Lions as the chalk play. But other than that, it was a solid week. The Giants backdoored for me, and the total, the Raiders Seahawks, that was easy money.
Yeah, they went up over 70. With the overtime. So you mentioned that, Spencer, Super Bowl odds for the first time since last year's Super Bowl, the Buffalo Bills are not the favorites to win the Super Bowl. They've been passed by Kansas City. Just by.
I thought they were passed before this week. You sure?
No. Caesar's actually sent out a release and everything. Yeah, it was.
I just did a little write up.
It happened during the games yesterday.
Okay, they actually were the Chiefs were favorites somewhere else then, because I know the Chiefs were favorites somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the difference between 400 and 450, not super significant. Could flip back in a week. Kansas City, a tough game in Cincinnati this week. I talked about how I like the 49ers and Cowboys to win the NFC. I surprised myself with this because I wouldn't have said this earlier in the year, but I'm looking at Cincinnati at 18-1.
100%. That's exactly what I was going to say.
I think Cincinnati, if and when they get healthy, can beat any team on this list.
No doubt.
Joe Burrow, baby. Yeah,
I think there's great value. Put that back up if you don't mind. Put that back up real quick. I think that is the number one value on this board. You cannot bet anyone above them. I mean, I've been talking about the Vikings all year long.
I'd take Cowboys at 9-1. I don't think that's a bad.
No, that's not no value there. There's no value in the Cowboys at 9-1.
Yeah.
I think the Cowboys certainly have a chance to win the Super Bowl, but I don't like 9-1. If you didn't bet them already, you can't jump on a boat after it's sailed. You just can't.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have had Dallas at 18-1. So you're not a good. It's not a good bet for you to go jump on them now at 9-1. It's just not, unless it was some super. It'd have to be some super value, and there's no super value there. But I know y'all get on me and y'all laugh at me when I say these things. One more time, put it up for like 10 seconds. The Tennessee Titans at 35-1. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, but people laughed at me when I took the Bengals at 150-1 in October, and they came just shy. I already had the Rams, so it was a no-lose situation for me in the Super Bowl. The Titans at 35-1 are serious value. They're going to win their division, and they
haven't beat a good team all year long.
They're going to win their division. They're super well coached. And if they get the right draw like the Bengals got last year, the Bengals got the right draw. And they didn't have to play the Chiefs and the Bills. If the Titans get that same kind of draw and they don't have to play the Chiefs and the Bills, they can make it to the Super Bowl. And then anything can happen. Titans at 35-1 is almost as good as the Bengals at 18-1, excuse me.
They haven't beat a good team all year long. I just don't.
I understand that, which is why they're 35-1.
Yeah,
I get what you're coming at, but they hadn't beaten anybody until they went on that 4-game string last year. So you don't know when it's going to come. Is the point?
Anybody taking the Saints at a cool 250-1?
No. I'm already going to lose enough money.
You're just making a donation to.
But by the way, if the Saints do make the playoffs, their most likely first round opponent, they'd get it at home because they win the division, but it'd be the Cowboys. So
yeah.
Well, Mike McCarthy's a bozo, so whoever wins the NFC South would probably be Tampa. I just Dallas. I want no part of Dallas. I think Odell Beckham.
Oh, come on.
Odell Beckham's probably going to sign there, and then it's all going to go downhill. So
yeah. And Kyle's right too. The 49ers haven't beaten anybody. They do. I think they get Miami this week.
Well,
and
they
Tampa
defeated
Bay
the
next
Rams
week.
twice when the Rams were decent. So, I mean, I don't say that you can't say they didn't beat anybody. They beat the Chargers.
Yeah.
I mean, the Chargers are decent. I mean, I don't agree with that.
That game at the bottom there.
They beat the hell out of Seattle, by the way.
Huge game, 49ers against Dolphins. 49ers laying 3.5, and that one, Chiefs-Bengals, also a big one. Chiefs slight road favorites. Boy, I'll tell you what, guys, we were talking about this on our group chat last night. I'm in a big survivor pool down to 33 people. This is a brutal week for Survivor.
Really rough week.
If you don't have Baltimore or Dallas left, and even Baltimore, I would say the way they're playing, you can't be 100% sure. Baltimore plays Denver, Dallas plays Indianapolis. I don't know where you turn.
I'm looking more towards Minnesota. And look, we need to start blocking Kyle. The Rams are decent. They were in the first half of the season. They were pretty darn good. And then Stafford got hurt. And so, I mean, did people how short are memory? I just want to know memory spans. Do they only this is why Las Vegas wins so much money, because people don't remember beyond like 3 days ago. They can't remember anything that was before 3 days. This is the same guy who said that the Saints were going to be 15-2.
Kyle, I will never block you, because the one thing I like more than reactions are overreactions.
Good
and
God.
You're my man.
It. You're right.
You're my man.
We won't get any values. If we didn't have the Kyles of the world, we wouldn't get values in Vegas, because people like that wouldn't keep betting on, they wouldn't bet.
You are my man. All right. What else here, guys? Bills, Pats. Could be a trap game for Buffalo Thursday.
I like Minnesota because I think that the Jets are starting to turn into. I get Mike White. Remember, Mike White came in last year and threw for 400 yards, and then the next game he stunk up the joint.
Yeah, Vikings can't stop anybody though.
The Jets don't have anybody. Yeah. They're not any good. I think this is a Viking. They know that they're in the mode now where they've got to get rolling. They actually have a chance at the number 1 seed. Not a great one, but if they're going to have any shot at all to get to that number 1 seed, they've got to pretty much win out. I think they're going to be focused. I really like them this week. And again, I haven't done my analysis yet, but going forward also, you got to like. I don't want to say it. You're just going to like wave at me.
You like the Titans. Like the Titans.
Especially
I was just about to ask.
I don't like
these questions,
this week.
but I'm gonna flip these questions because I know how Jim will answer one. So, Spencer, you get to question who's more likely to be upset, Bills or Eagles?
Bills.
Okay, and Jim, your question is who's more likely to be upset, Chiefs or 49ers?
That's a tough one. I don't think either one of them are going to lose. I think Chiefs have huge revenge factor. I would say the 49ers only because the Dolphins throw it around and they don't even pretend like they try to run the ball. So that's kind of the way to beat the 49ers. So I could see the Dolphins beating the 49ers. So I would say 49ers there. I don't think the Chiefs are going to lose to the Bengals. They're going to be super focused.
By the way, we talked about the Monday night game next week is Saints-Bucks. If the Saints should happen to win that game, the Falcons end up in first place if they beat Pittsburgh.
But they're not.
You don't think they're beating Pittsburgh?
Nope. I think
short week for Pittsburgh.
I think Pittsburgh's going on a little mini roll here.
I'm
done with him. I'm not reacting. I'm not even reacting to him anymore.
I will say the Broncos beating the 49ers is, looking back on it, it's like weird. I mean, in the Bears was a weird weather game.
Well, it was a monsoon. Yeah. And Trey Lance was playing there.
Falcons is weird, granted, but the 49ers had some injuries. The game was in Atlanta. Like the Denver one was weird.
Here's what you need to look at. Here's what you need to look at. And whenever you talk about a championship type team, you can throw the first half of the season out of the window. It means absolutely nothing. I don't care what they did the first half of the season. I get that they haven't beat great teams, but they have allowed 0, 10, 16, and 14. It's about their defense. They have the number one defense in the NFL. That's not changing anytime soon. When you have the number one defense in the NFL, you match up well with anybody as long as you have a decent quarterback, and that's what they have. They don't have a great quarterback, but they have a decent quarterback, and they have Christian McCaffrey. That defense is phenomenal. It has nothing to do with what I saw yesterday.
I'm super interested. Nick and Kyle are arguing about Miami, San Francisco. I'm super interested to see how Tua and that offense do against the best defense they've played all year.
Yeah, I won't bet on that. That won't be my best bets, but Miami matches up well.
Because Miami's got a great offense, but San Francisco might have the best defense in the NFL. College football, unfortunately, I do not find this to be a very intriguing championship week. The games at the top are probably your best games and the most meaningful ones. Can USC get into the playoff? Can TCU get into the playoff? They're both short favorites. Shout out to Southern, by the way, making the SWAC championship again. They won the Bayou Classic in New Orleans on Saturday. But they got to face Deion. Now, the only thing I'll say is Deion's got 1 foot out the door. He wants to go to Colorado. So could yeah, Zoe's happy. She's going to get Deion at her school. But could Jackson State's focus wane a little bit? Probably not enough. Anything else? Michigan only minus 16.
My question is, does anyone care one rat's patoot about Clemson, North Carolina, or Purdue, Michigan? The only good game the only good game to me, and TCU Kansas State, okay, big whoop. I mean, yeah, you'll kind of be watching to see if TCU swits a bit. I'll put it on a little bit. But to me, the only interesting game, the only really intriguing game is Utah-USC, which I think is high. I think USC wishes Washington would have lost the other night. They would much rather play Oregon, I believe, than play Utah, because Utah is a team you just don't want to play.
Yeah, and that's their one loss. I mean, it does give them a chance to avenge their one loss, and so maybe then, if they win, they're going to get in the playoff anyway. But it strengthens their resume a little bit. Could they get a 3 seed over TCU? Then I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Well, they avoid
Georgia.
Avoid
Georgia.
Yeah, you avoid Georgia. That's the big thing. Hey, the answer to your question is: anybody care about the ACC or the Big Ten or the Mountain West game or anything? If you bet on it, you do. That's how you end up caring about a game.
I can tell you what, Michigan fans should be more. They can forget about their game. They should be more interested in USC and TCU because they want both of those teams to win. They do not want to play. I mean, now they might put Alabama against Georgia if that were the case. They may not move Alabama up to 3. But I can tell you right now, Michigan doesn't want to have to play Alabama and Georgia to win a national championship.
Can you imagine if you're Georgia and you think you finally got rid of Alabama for the year?
Oh, I don't think they care.
Everybody loses and Alabama pops back into the spot. Oh, I guarantee you they'd rather play TCU than Alabama.
Well, of course you would, but I think in the grand scheme of things, I think their heads are probably bigger than the screen of all 3 of our heads. I don't think they care. But I just
want to point out that Jim's head's the biggest right now on the screen.
Yes, it is. I mean, I can even get even bigger.
I just want.
Bubble
Listen, man, this
Boy.
is a family show.
Hey, I
But
didn't say anything nasty.
surprisingly,
I kind of did
Uncle
on
Big
Data
Nick and Kyle disagree on something. I tend to lean with Uncle Big Nick there. I think Michigan will have a little bit of a letdown.
I fell for that
how could you
last
not?
year. I fell for that last year in the Big Ten.
Against
I'm
Iowa, yeah.
I'm not falling for that again.
Yeah, 16 maybe not enough for me.
I'm
bite.
not
I
falling
don't know.
for that again.
If it was 21, 22, maybe I'd bite, but 16.
I mean, all I can think of is Drew Brees going, Drew Brees, Boilermaker. I mean, that's the only thing good about Purdue.
All right, we will be back Thursday at 4 o'clock. Bayou Bets. We'll preview the weekend. Hopefully, we'll have another USA World Cup game to talk about, boys? Maybe?
Sure.
Against Ecuador or the Netherlands.
Look, you got me a Bayou Bets mug, which I really appreciate. Can you get me a Bayou Bets pillow for a soccer talk?
I'll get you a Bayou Bets scarf that you can hold up during the USA soccer games.
Oh, that would work. I could put it in between my neck.
Yeah. All right. Okay. We will also have the fantasy roundup tomorrow. Spencer doesn't know this, but I'm moving it to noon. So we're gonna do the fantasy roundup at noon, special time tomorrow.
Oh, because of the game. Okay.
Well, I gotta take the mother-in-law to the airport, so more important matters than even the soccer game. But yeah,
well,
people want to watch the game.
Your mother-in-law's not coming to town for a month. Mine is.
They can't watch. They can watch fantasy roundup and then watch the U.S. soccer game. So, fantasy roundup noon tomorrow. Datitude, Jim. Only Friday this week.
Only Friday. In fact, we're going back to. Well, next week's gonna be weird because we got a Monday game, so we'll probably do Monday, Tuesday, and Friday next week. But I think for the rest of the football season, we're gonna be Monday and Friday. Uncle Big Nick will be on Friday after Jeff Duncan. So we'll do Jeff Duncan live, and then we'll go and put it out in the podcast world with Uncle Big Nick segment on there at the end.
All right. So Friday and then Thursday, of course, at 4 o'clock, we'll be back with you on Bayou Bets. Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you don't mind, give us a like, subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. If you're not watching on that, head on over there. Just search Bayou Bets on the YouTube page and give us a subscribe there. And we appreciate it. Yeah, and Uncle Big Nick found out about his schedule change on the air, too. I did mean to tell you before.
For real. They just make changes.
I didn't mean to tell Uncle Big Nick. He'll just find out when he finds out.
Yeah. All right. Enjoy the game tonight, everybody. We'll be back 4 o'clock on Thursday. See you then.